Hello and welcome to Indiepocalypse Radio. Your number one, number two, number three, number four, and number five source in the radio podcast space for regular updates on the monthly alternative game zine Indiepocalypse. And by zine, I of course mean a bundle of games. But who am I to speak on this sort of topic? I make it. That's why I can speak on such a topic. I'm Andrew. I'm the host of this show. I'm also the host of Indiepocalypse. If magazine or not I should stop calling it a zine. But you know what I like the term. If a monthly anthology can have a host. But in order to have a host and exist like that, they must also have guests when you really think about it. And I'm here with a guest who you may know from both the show in a brief moment. And did I say what? Yeah, I did. Okay. Did I say who I was? I think I did. And issue 35 of Indiepocalypse, that aforementioned alternative, etc., etc., it's Mara Jerfy with, not with, because you had made, that's a weird way who had made
I'm with it.
The Forest of Noise.
Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going good. You sniped my question. How is it going with you?
Oh, it's going fairly well. It's actually Christmas morning for me right now.
So all those people being funny about Phoenix Wright, you see that and go, what are you talking about? It is Christmas.
Right.
You're like,
yeah.
How Americentric of you to assume that all throughout the world it is still almost Christmas.
Yeah, we beat you guys to it.
Yeah. But no, it is in fact actually Christmas, or December 25th, as some people call it.
That's correct. 9:05 a.m. December 25th. Yeah.
I am sitting at a crisp 7:05 p.m.
Do you have any plans for Christmas or Christmas Eve? Do you celebrate Christmas?
In the way that any person kind of does, I guess.
Yeah.
You go to another house for a couple hours, and you're like, then you're like, ooh, glad to be home.
I feel you.
And then how's an adult with only adults in their life celebrate Christmas when all said adults, if they want something, what little things that they want, they just tend to buy for themselves throughout the year.
Right. I think we could all get better at just like, there needs to be a way to just tell everyone, hey, like, I'm too good, or not too good, but I don't want to, because it's nice to get something, right?
Yeah.
So there should be a way to just subtly hint to everyone, hey, y'all should get me this if you like me that much.
Well, my solution in the past has just been asking the few people and they tell me. But now it's like, oh, I don't know. I don't really. When you're not want for much stuff in life as it is, it's hard. To be
on the receiving end of it.
To be like, oh, I don't really want much, so how can I tell a person like what I want when I don't really want any? I mean, to be fair, I want a lot of things, but I'm not going to tell people.
Right. You always just like
that I want
peace on earth, goodwill toward men, happiness, a good night's rest. No, like, so I'm I'm currently living in Japan, but I'm not going to be permanently living here. So when people ask me what I want, it's like, this year and last year I've just said nothing, because everything that I get, it's just another little bit of stress of me having to ship it back to the States when I inevitably move back. So, yeah.
You want very small, very, very small things.
Right. Real little things, or like ephemeral things, like write me a song or make me a game or something. Or make me a video.
Give me something I can eat so they will go away.
Yes, totally. Yeah. Actually, I think my parents sent me like a box with some candy, and
Yeah.
it was a lot of candy. So I teach at a high school, so I was like, oh god, if I don't share some of this candy, I'm gonna end up eating it all and feel horrible. So
Yeah.
I ended up sharing pretty much all of it. And they also sent me, I think, some food, but it's also wrapped in Christmas wrapping paper. So I haven't opened it yet.
Okay, so important question here since you mentioned it.
Mm.
People growing up in the U.S. they like to be like, oh, look, they have matcha Kit Kats or whatever.
Ooh.
All other countries have all different kinds of candies. What is I gotta know, what is American candy like from an outsider's perspective? Like, oh wow, it's some American candy.
Oh, okay. Well, so the candy they sent me specifically was a lot of candy canes,
Yeah,
like the mini candy canes, and oh god, I always mess up the pronunciation. It's either Ghirardelli or Ghirardelli, the San
yeah,
Francisco
I get what you're
dark
saying.
chocolate.
The little
Yeah.
chocolates, the stuff inside of them sometimes.
Yes, yes. So they loved those, and the candy canes, surprisingly, like none of them knew what they were, and they were like, they weren't even sure if it was candy. They were like, is this candy? And I was like, oh yeah, like it's like peppermint kind of
Yeah.
thing. And they're like, oh okay. And like, do you bite it or like do you like what do you do? It's like, yeah, you can bite it or suck it or like crumble it up. Like the world's your oyster.
Yeah,
But I think they enjoyed it. Yeah.
I'll say as someone who grew up with candy canes, I'm still honestly not sure what you do with them.
What's the protocol?
Yeah, that like especially if they are like in shipping, the odds of them just getting crushed and
Yeah.
not realizing that until you open them, and then candy peppermint falls all over the place.
Right, and it just gets a mess.
That is the secret underlying the secret blood of Indiepocalypse Radio. I love the mundane things that kind of translate across other cultures, like our junk food, or which
Yeah.
ones don't.
Right. Speaking of like, there are some great snack foods here that I'm actually gonna miss a lot. Like, have you heard of jagariko?
No.
It's kind of like they're made from it. The consistency reminds me of like Pringles in that they're like what do you call it? Not emulsified, but like pulverized like bits of potato, but they're made into little sticks.
Okay.
And they're all sorts of different flavors. So it's like potato chip sticks, and there's like cheese, butter, truffle.
Yeah.
There are some. Yeah, they're incredible.
I was gonna say we kind of have those, but they're just not flavored. They're just potato sticks.
Oh, do they really?
Yeah, you never had a potato stick in your life? Is that
don't-
regional?
I don't know. Is that an East Coast thing?
It might.
Where do
is
you
out-
live, by the way?
Now, see, that's the other thing is learning what things are East Coast things.
Right, because our country's so freaking big.
Yeah, I mean, I learned when I just went to Toronto that like I'm very used to being able to go to like any kind of supermarket with your standard 3-pot soup, hot soup thing,
Eh?
and being able to get a chowder, specifically like a clam chowder. But
Oh, like hot soup at the, like you can just scoop it yourself?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
But when I was in Toronto, my connected, like Trader Joe's or whatever it was, they had like 8 of them, and there was nary a chowder in sight.
Eight. So
Yeah.
what did they have? Like something you'd never heard
I
about?
don't know,
I don't really know what
bullshit.
Canadian. Some Canadian bullshit.
Yeah, I don't know. Listen, I do like plenty of soups, no, but like generally, if it's anything beyond like clam chowder or kale, I'm like, maybe I'll try it, but I've never in my life have I been like, oh boy, I want to have some Italian wedding soup or whatever, or chicken noodle. It's just one of those things where it's like, if I can't have one of those two, like those are like the peak soups.
The staples.
Yeah, like if you want something thicker, you get a clam chowder. If you don't want something
Right.
thicker, you have kale soup. And
So, on the subject of chowder,
yeah,
are your allegiances towards the New England, or what's the other one? I don't even know what the other one is.
I think it's New York. I think that's the red one.
New York.
I
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever had it. I'm in New England. I
Okay.
I eat New England chowder
Gotcha.
exclusively.
You're loyal.
Yes, I think. But like, it's very. I don't want to get into the minutia of chowder, but
Okay, let's not. Let's leave.
chowder you buy out of a can is not worth your time.
Mm-mm-mm. I can believe that.
I think some fresh ones are fine, but it's all about potatoes. If you get too many potatoes, just get out of here.
Really?
All those
And like
potatoes.
too big a chunks, or just too many?
I feel like when you get a lot of potatoes, you're not getting much clam in there.
That's true. The ratio could be off.
But listen. Speaking of all this noise we're making about chowder, tell me about the forest of noise.
Sure. Okay. Well, actually, the Forest of Noise was really my first ever foray into doing anything game related. So like, I've been interested in noise music and like electroacoustic music for a while,
Yeah.
and I studied percussion performance in school, but I ended up making a kind of solo practice with like uh, contact mic fitted a drum set, so you can like modify and like really heavily distort the sounds and get really small sounds from the drum set. And then near the end of college, I got really into no input mixer music, which is like if you take just a standard mixing board like they would use at like a live show or something, or like a smaller one, and you route the inputs into the outputs, you can make a really cool feedback loop, and that you modify with all the different knobs, so all the different EQ knobs and effects if your mixer has effects on it.
Yeah.
And you can create some really crazy like chaotic soundscape sort of stuff. So anyway, after college, I graduated in 2020, like right in the midst of the lockdown. So I was like, well, shit, I have this degree and I have some great recordings from my senior recital, but I can't really perform for anyone right now. So what the hell am I gonna do? And I've been a fan of games for a long time.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, what if I could just like try something small and get some really specific ideas and kind of synthesize everything myself and make a kind of, experience that would be, I guess, akin to a show that I would do, but with the player at the forefront, obviously.
Right,
I'm just
right.
describing the medium of games, but
Because,
like
I mean, it is sort of like navigating a gallery space in a way.
That's actually an interesting way to put it. Yeah, but yeah, like I've been really into like experimental poetry, so I was like, I could combine all these things that I really love, like the using text and video, which I've been into for a long time, and sound design, and really get to practice like new ways to employ that. So I watched like some tutorials on Unity. Maybe not. Maybe I should have watched more, or should watch more. And then I went through the Audio Kinetics Wise, which is their like audio middleware, all of their tutorials. I was like, okay, I got enough knowledge where I can kind of do something.
Yeah.
And then, I just went ahead and made that. But the story, or like I guess the main themes that I wanted to get across, it's more just like a series of questions about mostly about death and how we relate to it and how we deal with it, mostly on the side of people that are alive and losing people close to us, and also but slightly less so, like how do we deal with our own mortality. And like everyone has their own ideas about whether life ends at the moment of death and there's just blank nothingness, or if there's something else. So that's the whole, is it a line or a circle? Like, does life kind of go straight and then drop off, or do we come back to something? So, yeah, I just had some kind of specific ideas, but laid them out in a vague, but I think and hope interesting enough way.
Yeah, if it's in here, at least one person thought it was interesting enough.
Yeah, appreciate that.
That's the Indiepocalypse promise. Speaking of that, the important question that I can't believe I don't know if it's a later time zone or I was too hopped up on Chatter Talk, but I forgot the most important question that people come to the show for, which is, and by come to the show I mean the important question. I mean my informal survey question, which is, how did you hear about Indiepocalypse?
Oh, actually, you know what? I think it was literally just, I think you might have put The Forest of Noise in, what do you call it on it? It's not a playlist, a collection.
Did I?
And
I did.
And then it said, oh, if your game is in this collection, maybe you should submit to this thing, Indiepocalypse. I'm like, what the hell is that? And then I looked and I was like, oh my God, this is like so cool. Like it, I know you seem to talk a lot about whether using the word zine is appropriate, but
yes,
I think it makes it sound obviously like really punk, which is cool. And I feel like that's kind of what it is.
Yes. I
was like, damn, that's really cool.
I should clarify. I think zine is the correct word, but I think sometimes people get confused and think it's just like a magazine about games.
Right. Like just the like ephemera or whatever.
Right,
just like
right.
a PDF or a book or something. I get you. Yeah.
Right. That's the only really like aesthetically, it is like fully aligned.
It is.
I think.
Yeah.
With, like zine
absolutely.
qualities and these kind of non-commercial, unmarketable sorts of things.
Totally.
I mean, some of the things are plenty marketable. Some of the games are plenty like you could put them on Steam and people would be happy with them. But a lot of the, and I say that as a compliment, a lot of the games are not.
Yeah, it just wouldn't. It's like they evoke something too specific.
And they're too short. They're too they're too obtuse.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that they're too.
They're just too much.
Right. They're a place that has there are things that have regular homes in a lot of other mediums. The Indiepocalypse games are the kind of things you see like on Bandcamp all the time. Is why I like to think of it.
Yeah, totally. And I honestly, when I first discovered Itch, it really just reminded me. Kind of the whole atmosphere reminds me so much of Bandcamp, which is so great.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's a self-publishing platform, and when people self-publish, you're gonna get a lot of like things that are not necessarily concerned with being a product that is meant to be consumed. Yeah,
totally. It's just meant to it's just for the sake of itself and not to be sold.
If the dream is that Itch gets a little bit of that Bandcamp style curation, where they're very focused, or where they focus a lot on just kind of like weirder stuff. And, because you can go down some like Bandcamp Daily will throw you down some weird holes.
Yes, there's some just crazy stuff.
But you get that less with Itch editorial. Does not usually skew away from like video games in the very traditional sense.
Kind of straightforward.
Stuff. Usually like more down the line, more popular sort of. It's a video game that was published by Devolver or something.
Like something that everyone like that. Maybe the majority of people be able to look at it and be like, oh yeah, That's a
Yeah.
video game. I
Right,
can
right, right.
recognize.
I understand how that works.
Yeah, yeah.
And that makes sense because it's like their platform has got to attract people away from things like Steam and Epic and GOG to some extent.
Right. Right.
And it's
Do you think
so yeah.
Oh, sorry. Do you think that it's because video games are such like a young medium that do you find there's less general acceptance for experimentation or like maybe like pieces that are off the beaten path than something
Yeah.
like music, which has been around for millennia,
Right.
or even film, which has been around for like what a couple 100 years or so?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Like, what is what is the video game equivalent of the train coming at you? Is that like Space War, which is relatively recent?
Mm, yeah, yeah. It's just
like,
it hasn't had enough time to really get weird and wild.
and I think a lot of that has to. I think a lot of especially if you're like long in the tooth in terms of like game development, it's hard to realize. But computers are expensive, and you need computers to make games.
Right.
And I think people sometimes it's easy to forget that not everyone has computers.
Yeah. The accessibility is a tough one.
I was talking to someone like was it last week? I lose track of. I think 2 weeks ago I was talking to Pedro Manos, who makes a lot of cool games, and he was talking about how his games tend to be more lo-fi because the computers he can afford are extremely expensive and shit at the same time.
Right.
And that's like he's talking about like that being the computer market in Brazil. So.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of you come to these situations where it's like, it's a lot easier to get cheap music recording is like easier to do. To some extent,
Right. Yeah,
like
and like
a tape deck plus instruments.
yeah, and there's so much more of a like lo-fi music is like an actual market.
Yeah.
Like Mac DeMarco, just as one example, is like massive. I mean, yeah, he's just like
Yeah,
a lot of people are down with it. Yeah.
That whole what was it? Elephants. What were they? What were those people called in the 90s? Was it Elephant Six? That was all
familiar.
like all those was like a bunch of lo-fi guys. I thought.
Oh
Like
yeah,
Jeff
okay.
Mangum and all those guys were in there. Was Pavement?
Yeah.
In there? But anyway, yeah.
Uh-huh.
There's, and like I've been thinking about this idea of referring to the older aesthetic instead of like retro. Like for a while ago, I thought about calling it like lo-fi pixel art, just to kind of, and even now even more as I've been playing through. I say playing through, I mean sampling the complete NES library, and like there's a lot of good stuff, cool stuff in there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, right, of course, and like I knew this going in, but it really exemplifies how games are not a linear progression of art.
Totally.
Like
But I'd argue that like the average. Well, we could get into the whole thing about like the average gamer being interested in one thing or another, but yeah, I feel like the average gamer that has a console and plays every AAA game when it comes out, or like, not to say that's bad because there's a lot of AAA games that are like doing really cool and interesting things, but they're focused on like realism in graphics is kind of a big thing that
right.
I've become less and less like. It's really cool to see. Like I've been playing through God of War Ragnarok, and it's just like, and I don't have a PS5 yet because I refuse to ship that from Japan to the States when I have to, because that's gonna be a nightmare. But even playing it on PS4 is like, it's pretty incredible. But also the story and the themes and the sound are incredible, and it doesn't have. What am I trying to say? It doesn't have more value than something that's made with a more kind of lo-fi
Yeah.
aesthetic.
Right. It's like, there are still in other plenty of other mediums there are, canonical indie classics that are just like shoestring budget lo-fi things that are just like barely hobbled to shot we I shot this in a weekend and
Yeah.
donated my blood so I could afford money. I could afford to make
Right.
El Mariachi or whatever.
Yeah. Totally.
But there's this the race to the top is kind of pointless.
Mm-hmm.
Graphical fidelity is kind of a weird thing to focus on. I always thought because it looks nice, but
Yeah.
it does not look distinct.
Right. And especially realism, because like, I prefer, I prefer a game that doesn't look realistic but has a really, like you said, distinct, and interesting and eye-catching art style than a game that looks incredibly realistic but like kind of flat and boring.
Yeah, there's I think that it's like why go for extreme realism, There what are you gaining from Actually, I mean it looks nice and you got to justify big expensive consoles and
Yeah.
that's what the market is. It's also hey, believe it or not, it's a lot harder to create a unique style.
Right. Yeah.
It's a lot harder to just be like because like to adapt, like to create like a what feels like a personal style is a lot harder to do.
That's true. And another thing I just thought about in terms of realism is like, well, guys, like, film is like already a medium. So like you can shoot people that look like
Yeah.
real people. And I mean, obviously games are different because of the interactivity. And maybe it's the thing of like, I'm going to say this and then immediately disagree with myself.
Yeah.
But people, like, if they see a character in a conflict in a game that looks incredibly realistic, maybe the average person will connect more deeply with it than seeing something that is like has a few less pixels or looks a little bit less like them. But maybe for some people that's true, but for me personally, I would
Scott McCloud would be so disappointed in you.
Yeah, looking at the game, at the game that I made,
He would look
are
at you and be like, no, two dots in a line signify a human face that we can recognize.
Exactly.
We see human faces in everything.
Exactly.
We struggle our hardest to not see human faces.
Right. It's like almost scary, and so for me personally, I guess like, well, there's the whole uncanny valley thing, but like, if it is just further back from not looking like a human, it almost becomes easier to connect with it because you can almost see the real person who or the real, like, hundreds of people or whatever that created that model or that image.
Yeah.
And if it is a little bit on the other side, it's for me, I'm just immediately turned off, or like emotionally the investment just goes away.
And abstraction can help people like place a lot of themselves within a more like abstract form, a more like generic or like a more fantastical form. And speaking of these abstract fantastical forms, I've got a question here, an eternal question from Mochi.
Okay.
I need to know, do you have a favorite Toho character?
Favorite Toho character?
Yes. you either deep in thought or completely do not know.
Oh, Toho, like the film company?
No, like the no, like the Dojin game series, the shooters, the bullet hells, and the extended universe of it.
I'm not familiar.
So the answer would be no.
No.
It's I've been getting deeper into it because the question keeps coming up. It's basically a series of Danmaku, as they say, which I think she means bullet curtain, actually, not bullet hell. if my rudimentary understanding is correct.
Huh.
But bullet hell sounds cool.
It does. It brings you into it.
But bullet curtain is also like an accurate descriptor of what they are. But
so what are the characters?
There's a lot of them. There's a lot of characters, basically.
Okay.
I can't describe them. Like I can't tell you about Reimu and Risa. I'm but a novice myself.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar.
You know, it's no need to apologize. We all have. I had the same answer about 4 weeks ago. But it was a good jumping off point to ask that question. And I never know how that question goes because that feels like that's either I know exactly which one, I'm going to tell you why, or I have no idea what you're talking about.
Or what the hell?
Yes.
Which is me.
Or I have no answer for you. I am going to leave for but a brief moment. So brief that I'm not going to play music. I'm going to go get food.
Okay.
I'll be immediately back.
All right, sounds good. I'm going to get some water. Ho, ho, ho. Christmas.
Okay, I'm back. I've returned.
Okay, hello.
I got a Euro plate.
Oh.
And I was like, that's confusing. Why not just make it a wrap? Because this place sells wraps. It is a wrap. I'm glad you're right.
Oh, it is.
That is.
So they called it a plate?
They called it a plate, maybe because it comes with French fries, but I assure you,
okay.
It is a wrap.
Oh, that sounds damn good.
Yeah, the way my schedule used to work, or my old job used to work, I used to have access to a Euro place I could go to, but now I can't.
Oh no.
And now it's like, oh, it's not like it was closer to my house. Or like I'm much further from the Euro place, but also I get out later. And listen, we don't need to talk about my schedule. We're here to talk about games, I suppose. Speaking of games, Mary, you like video games? What do you think?
I love video games. I think.
What are your feelings on Mario?
I love Mario, but I'm not very good.
Yeah, that guy at the beginning of Mario, that little guy that runs towards you, is a real bastard.
That little motherfucker.
He's trying to kill you. You go to talk to him, and he's just like walks into you.
Yeah.
And die.
If only what's that famous Doom thing? It's like, if only we could talk to these monsters, then this would be. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't know what you're talking about.
There was this famous, like, when was it? I think Doom. Or Wolfenstein. No, it must have been Doom. When it first came out, like, some gaming magazine wrote a kind of not quite scathing, but like perturbed, I guess, review of the game, and their conclusion was like, I wish we could, like, if only we were able to talk to these monsters instead of just shooting them, then maybe it would be, they didn't say a worthwhile experience, but that's kind of what they are implying.
Yeah.
So just anti the violence, or saying, oh, like, what if there was something more than this?
What if there was? You know what? I kind of, is that Doom RPG? Is that, do you talk to the monsters in Doom RPG? I don't remember. It was.
I don't know. I haven't played.
Doom RPG. Never will. I don't think it. I don't think it's playable anymore. I had it. I had it on my phone.
Oh, okay.
I wonder if I still. And this is like also pre-smartphones. That's.
Oh, just like a normal ass.
Yeah.
Flip phone or something.
Yes, it was. I wonder now if I still have that flip phone, which means I would still have Doom RPG.
That would be sweet.
Yeah. No, it was like a turn-based, kind of like a what's the game I'm thinking of? Ultima, or I guess a more contemporary would be like what's the genre of games as those first-person dungeon crawlers? It's a first-person dungeon crawler. Is what
okay. I got you now.
They turned Doom into a first-person dungeon crawler.
Love that for them.
Yeah,
but I think like there, like, I guess there's merit to the argument that like maybe there should be some, or maybe not should, but there could be something more than just killing the hell out of these things. But I feel like there is something to be said for a game that just revels in let's kill the hell out of these things.
Yeah, a game that is excess violence and ripping metal and listen,
yeah.
It's an action movie. It's an action movie video game.
Totally. Blood pumping action. But I go...
Not every video game needs to be My Dinner with Andre. You know?
Right. Like, I go back and forth about games that relish in, or revel in, let's kill the hell out of these other human beings.
Yeah.
In, like, an ultra-realistic way. Like, I mean, in high school and middle school, I used to love Call of Duty. Like, all my friends would play together. But I haven't touched a Call of Duty game since I want to say like since Black Ops 2, I guess. And when was that?
That is infinitely more than as I have touched 0 Call of Duty games in my life.
Okay, I mean, like,
yeah,
it's really I feel like it's a fun party game, like to play with friends and like compete and like talk trash or whatever. But from what I've heard, like it's kind of just become a copy of a copy of a copy every year, and I don't know, depicting war in like real life people war in a like glorious way. That, I mean, they comment on it sometimes, but
right.
I feel like there are some problems.
It's
there.
probably extremely non-committal commenting, like.
Right, yeah. It's like we don't really have. Well, I was gonna say we don't really have a horse in this race, but they do, because they like, from what I remember reading about them, or like Activision, they have some sort of contract with like either weapons contractors or like the army.
Right.
So it's being used in part as like a propaganda tool, which is don't we love when art just turns into a propaganda tool?
Yeah, a lot of art is there's a lot of, somebody said it once, and I've been realizing I've seen a lot more of it, just movies for like dads getting things done, just like older white men taking care of business.
Yeah. Rolling up those sleeves.
Yeah, there was there was what was it? I guess the people who wrote what's that movie with the guy? We have to be quiet. Quiet Place.
Oh, Quiet Place. The
Yeah.
one that it's a place and there's silence.
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess they've created like a little wheelhouse of just like making survivalist prepper dad movies, basically.
Okay.
Of just like
I do. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I think I determined last week that what separates indie from AAA is your movie about a dad who's sad, or is your movie about someone who has difficulties relating to their dad? And that's the great
Like,
divide.
Which side of the dad are you on?
I'm probably on I'm on the indie side. I'm not a sad dad. I'm
Yeah.
never a father. That's what I say.
Never a father. Never a father. Not even once.
No, never. Wouldn't even try it.
Not even if I could.
It's not a thought that passes my brain ever. Too independent.
Too indie. Too indie boy.
Too indie throughout my life. Too strong a desire to be left alone.
I'm indie in all aspects of life.
Yes. True toxic indie. No, I don't want to be bothered. I want to be left alone.
Yeah.
And another human being that depends on you for 18 years
Everything.
of their life, 16
Yeah.
18 years of their life makes that a little more difficult.
I worry about. I sometimes get excited about like just weird stupid things, like showing them, if I were ever to have a child, like showing them my favorite movies, or like teaching them about like really easy stuff, like you gotta look both ways before you cross the street.
Yeah.
Or like you gotta tie your shoes before you leave the house. But then I also get like just deeply worried about, oh my god, like I feel like this thing is so fragile, and like you don't want to do anything to like irrevocably just like fuck them up for the rest of the. Can I curse on here?
Yes,
I
we
don't
already
know.
have
I've
that.
never been on Twitch. Okay, great. Sorry. That's good to know.
Yes.
But yeah, you just like I don't know, I feel like I wouldn't want to do any small thing to fuck them up.
Yeah.
That's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah. They are other human beings are a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, just interacting with any of them.
It's like we're all deeply complex and difficult to deal with, and you forget that children, despite being children, are actual just other humans.
Right. Yeah, they're like us, but smaller,
Just
and
a little
quieter.
smaller and a little younger.
Actually, maybe not quite. Yeah.
right.
Just
And
they
that
just
is-
know less.
Also, yes,
stuff.
right. Also, smaller is not a guarantee either.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, they're just a little. And I remember when I went to a friend's house who had a kid who was leaving at the time, and they were like, neither of us really said hi to each other, and I was like, no, I don't know. It was like a mutual understanding. It's like, no, when I was that young, I didn't want to say hi to my dad's friends. And my dad's friends probably don't want to say hi to me. It was a mutual
Right.
understanding.
Yeah, it's just awkward for all parties.
Right.
So just leave it alone.
It was like, yeah, no, it's like, listen, we don't need to hang out.
We're never gonna. Yeah, we're not gonna be good friends.
Right, no, listen, maybe we can hang out eventually or whatever. Or you're like, you could be in the same room and we can get along with one another, but it's not like you need to meet each other. It's not a requirement.
I gotcha.
We got to sit and chat, and I guess that's my approach to children and perhaps teens, is that like, oh, they're just people, really. And it's like,
Right. Yeah.
I don't want to condescend to them and be like, oh, how you doing, champ?
When I was your age,
Yeah, no.
milk used to cost so and so. Yeah.
Yes, the value of things increases with time.
Yeah.
Money
yeah,
keeps going up.
money keeps going up, baby. I feel what you're saying. I've actually had a lot of I'm gonna miss seeing my cousins this year. I have a couple cousins that are just getting to like I think they're both 18, so they're
Yeah.
both like one of them has just started college and the other one has just started like working and stuff, and it has been really cool to just like see them turn from little shits into like semi-functioning almost adult people. And
Yeah.
now it's cool to just talk to them about normal stuff and just
Yeah.
like, learn about them as people has been really cool.
And then you also realize that it's not actually a magic switch that flips when you turn 18, and there's still a lot of
Yep. There's so much growing to do.
right. It's like,
Always.
oh, it's infinitely complex to be a person, and maybe you never. It's not. If we don't level up in life, despite being the gamers that we are.
I know. If only we could.
If only I could power up and get more
Yeah.
strength points.
Yeah.
Increase my
I do feel like
constitution.
yeah. I do feel like my XP goes up whenever I leave that, especially like, oh my gosh, moving to another country, especially not really knowing that much of the language has been massive XP bonus for the past couple of years, cuz
Yeah.
like every time I leave it's gotten a little bit better, but every time I leave the house I'm just like kind of terrified that everything I do is breaking some sort of norm or like making a mistake.
Yeah.
And no matter what I do, I'm always sticking out, which I can't avoid because I'm in a pretty small town and I'm one of two Americans that live in this town, so
Yeah.
everyone knows who I am. But it's been a crazy, huge growing thing.
Yeah, it kind of, but also you get the benefits of realizing, oh wait, not everyone in the country acts exactly the same.
Totally,
and has
totally.
the same cultural mores as everybody else.
Yeah, yeah. Even in a country like Japan, which is like supposed to kind of be the hegemonic, like, I mean, the government would have you believe that every Japanese citizen, one, is ethnically Japanese, which has kind of been their goal for a while, and two, acts exactly the same, which, yeah. I mean, the first one, I think their population is, I think, around 98% ethnically Japanese, so they got that, but yeah, I mean, everyone's just different.
Right, yeah. They would have you believe a lot of the things about the United States as well.
Totally.
Totally. That's just the power of the propaganda machine and being
Yeah, yeah.
oh wait, not everybody likes to step in line and be perfectly in tune with everything that you're told.
Yeah.
That is I guess also that comes from a different perspective of America being this kind of like we're a place where a billionaire presidents act like they're the underdog still.
Right.
You cannot have more.
Right.
You cannot be wielding more influence.
Yeah,
But you're
you
still
could not possibly.
right, but still like, oh, I'm the underdog. What?
You don't know me, Jack.
Right. That's we're always the best, but then we're also always the underdog at the same time.
Yeah, we're always like, oh, you got to root for the good old boys, but
Who are
kind of the most powerful
the American
people
paradox.
in the world. Yeah,
The benefits of being a baby little nation.
I know. That has been another thing, just in terms of like physical things. Like, I mean, here a lot of houses are rebuilt all the time, but
Yeah.
that's just houses. Like I've been to some shrines and temples that have been around for like crazy long time. So
Yeah.
just seeing that has really put into perspective like how much of a baby America is.
Right. I'm in the oldest part of America, and
Right. I know.
of like colonial America. That is to say.
Right, right. That like, yeah.
But even that is like not very old.
Mm,
It's like 300 years old.
right, at the most. Whereas like in other places, there's like
Thousands upon
cathedrals that
thousands
have been
upon
around for
thousands.
thousands. Yeah.
People didn't just come over and bulldoze over the stuff that was already here.
Hmm.
The American style.
Yeah.
But anyway,
we've gotten a bit too big for our britches, and
Yeah.
we've gotten so big so quickly that, I mean, yeah, America is also like a huge just. It's kind of hard to escape the cultural export. Like
Right.
even here, where it's very rural, like you can find a Coca-Cola vending machine like on every street corner
Yeah.
almost. Like, and there's a McDonald's in the city that's an hour away, and a Pizza Hut and a KFC. Like, it's kind of wild.
yeah, I don't even have Pizza Huts. Where's
Anywhere near you?
No, I'm searching right now. Pizza Hut. Where's my closest Pizza Hut?
It's like the only place I get pizza here.
I'm in Domino's country, I think.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
There used to be a Pizza Hut. I know because it had that shape. That was the hut shape.
The classic.
Where do you
Wait,
Okay.
so are you in a Hardee's area or a
Don't know what a Hardee's
Carl's
is.
Jr. area? Okay.
I've never seen either
Is it
of
Carl's
them.
Jr.?
I've never
Oh,
seen
what?
either of them.
Is that not an East? Is that like? Oh, Jesus. Because there's like, in where I grew up in like Northern California.
Yeah.
It's Carl's Jr. everywhere.
Yeah.
In the south, I think in the south it's Hardee's, but then maybe you guys just don't have it.
Couldn't tell you. I've never seen. Okay, I went to California once, so I think I saw one of them there.
What did you do in California?
I went to Indiecade
Oh, okay.
as part of okay, cannot find a location for Carl's Jr.
For Carl's Jr. What about
Cannot
Hardee's?
find a
What about?
location.
Wait, where's the closest Pizza Hut?
Like 40 minutes away,
Okay.
or 30, not too far, relatively speaking.
That is actually closer than mine. Mine's like an hour away, but that's like nothing is close.
That is.
That's the nearest.
So
city.
it's like you never left America, where nothing is close to anything else.
Right. Oh my God. Yeah. And dude, like when I came back to America last June for my brother's wedding, and when people would ask me, like, what's the difference? I'm like, well, in Japan, from my experience, everything is just like smaller and narrower. Like the streets are like crazy narrow. The cars are smaller on average. The houses are smaller on average. But yeah, the speed limits are also like, on most roadways, it's like 60 kilometers an hour is the standard, which is like, it's like 37 miles an hour. So
Yeah.
it's an hour away driving 37 miles an hour.
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say,
Yeah.
wait a minute.
But that's as fast as you can go. I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
Important news update. The closest Carl's Jr. is about a day's drive away.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
What state?
It's about 24 straight hours of driving to get to a Carl's
Oh
Jr.
my
from-
lord. It's not worth it.
Well, what about Hardee's? Maybe Hardee's is closer. Oh yeah,
It's
Hardee's
just-
is closer. There's Hardee's in
Wait, what?
There's Hardee's in New
So
York.
you must Okay. So you must be okay.
But the closest Hardee's is in New York.
Gotcha. You're in the center of the triangle, the Hardee's Carl's Jr. triangle. It's
No,
it's the same.
No, I'm
it's the same
completely outside the
restaurant.
triangle.
Oh.
There's
Oh,
like
right.
Because Massachusetts is above
Okay.
New England. New York, not part of New England.
Yeah.
New York, I'm above New York. North of
Okay.
New York. But yeah,
You're above it. You're floating on top of it.
yes. It's very easy to get lost in it's that thing. You can fit like 6 New Englands inside of California. To get
That's crazy,
or whatever.
dude.
Or not like 6, maybe 2 or 3, 2.5.
Right. But we big.
Yeah.
We big.
California's big.
Yeah. It's crazy that I'm now living in a country that's like essentially the same size as California, but
Right.
like thinner and more islandy.
Yeah, but I'm used to states that you can just drive across in a day.
Right, right.
You can drive
That's
through.
wild.
You can drive through like. I can go pretty much the other side of Massachusetts in like 3 hours.
Damn,
Go cross state.
that is really cool.
Yeah,
I would love to visit New England and just see the see the really old buildings.
yeah. I don't know. Like people would say that. Like, what is even here? It's the benefit of living
Yeah.
in a place. You're like, what's here? There's a fake rock.
Let's go.
I don't know. Anyway.
My sister and I have been talking about going on a big cross country trip
Yeah.
when I come back, and I'm trying to think of some spots. Like, I've never really been anywhere in the South besides Alabama, where my brother used to live. I'd love to visit like Texas and like maybe not Florida, but I'd like to visit like Texas. And I'd also like to go to New York. What do you think about New York? The city. And the state in general.
I've only been to the city a few times. There's too much stuff there.
Yeah, like overwhelming.
No, not overwhelming. Just too much stuff there.
Oh, okay.
Or mostly it's too expensive. It seems like a good place to visit,
Sure. Yeah.
but the vibe is way different than the cities I'm used to, being Boston and Providence,
Okay.
and the vibes are way different. Mostly because
Just like
it's a lot busier, you know. I feel like in
Okay.
Boston nobody wants to talk to you,
really everyone's on the move.
or like no one wants to recognize that there are other people around them.
Oh.
I remember like the subways are like night and day.
Oh, is there a good subway system in Boston? I have no
It's
idea.
fine. It's
Okay.
fine.
Wow.
Fine.
That's something about Tokyo that just blew my mind. I've been there only twice to
Yeah.
visit, but oh my god, the trains are so freaking cool.
Right.
And like I mean it's really complicated. Like the maps look like they're going to make you faint because they're just like so spiderweb ish. But the train like I mean the famous punctuality is just really nice, and being able to just like get a little plastic card and throw some money on there, and then you can get kind of anywhere in the city like that. It's
Yeah. I remember when
something
I went.
I'm not used to.
I remember when I went to Toronto like 4 years ago, and they didn't even have cards. I had to.
Oh, you had to pay
them-
cash?
I had to pay cash.
Damn.
Which,
Every time?
Yeah, which caught me off guard because I was I think when I went, they were just setting it up. Like the kiosks were there,
Okay.
but they weren't ready yet.
Gotcha.
But then the last time I went, they were ready because there was something I was very confused by because I was like, "Where are the things? They're not here."
Yeah, what do I do?
Yes, but I don't know. I haven't been around to that many places either because traveling is expensive both to travel, but also expensive in that you take time off of work.
Totally. Yeah.
Which means you don't get more money, which means it's
Right.
basically like you're paying more money.
Yeah, you're just losing a lot more money.
But
But-
I like Providence. I think Providence is cool.
I'd like to go there. My
It's-
friend wait. RISD's not in Providence, is
RISD
it?
is
My
in
I have
Providence.
Okay, yeah. I have a friend who went to RISD, and I want to say he still lives in Providence. I'm not sure. I haven't talked to him in a
Providence
while.
is cool.
But he loved it, yeah.
It's like it's my ideal because it's like it's a I mean relatively speaking it's kind of cooler because it has I mean like RISD's there.
Mm-hmm.
It has
So there's like cool.
220, which is like a couple blocks of like gallery art space,
Ah, sweet.
and it's just like it's more relaxed, you know.
Yeah.
No hustle and bustle really because
Oh,
it's like not a major
that.
city,
Mm-hmm.
but you still get some of the amenities of being a city. Like you get a lot of good restaurants.
Oh yeah, what's like the big
Oh, I don't know.
cuisine? Or they
I,
just got everything?
I don't know what is like the big. Last time we went, what we went to like some beer garden adjacent sort of place.
Mm.
I usually get a lot of like where I can I get like to get like more chorizo and like all those different types of spiced sausages, whatever the different flavors
Okay.
of them,
Gotcha.
chorizo and linguiça and etc. etc.
Mm-mm-mm.
The benefits of
I
I
feel you.
think a large Portuguese population, at least in my area of Massachusetts.
Okay. Gotcha.
Um, uh, we're in big Gaspars County, or is it Jaspars? I always forget which one it is. But anyway, sausages. Enough about sausages.
Enough about it.
Enough about sausages, and really, enough about this show.
Yeah.
It's been we hit it. We did it. We hit an hour. Believe it. It
Let's
just
go.
it flies by.
Yeah.
Uh,
From chowder to sausages.
from chowder sausages, going back to Indiepocalypse Radio's origins of just talking about food all the time. But I love games feel sort of ancillary to all of this thing, if that makes
Mm.
sense.
Mm-mm-mm.
I'm sure there are plenty of talk shows and things where people get into the gritty of game design, but also I don't think it's something you can solve,
Yeah.
So I'm not looking for like let's uncover game design best practices. Or
Right.
I
Kind of
think
opaque.
right. I think you get more of just like kind of understanding a little bit of the people who make the games and going, well, that's where they came from.
Mm-mm. That's nice. I've had a joy talking to you, and I think this thing that you're doing is like incredibly valuable. So
Well, thank you.
thank you.
I like doing it most of the time.
Mm.
But like any artistic endeavor, you have your low periods where like, why do I make this thing? It's terrible. I hate it. I hate myself,
Oh
and I
my
hate
god.
everything involved with it.
Yes. Oh my god. I've with this current project, I've had many a period like that, and it
Right,
just makes you want to throw your computer in the trash.
right. And then
Just
you'd
throw yourself in the trash.
be like, if I just stopped and just didn't release another one, would anyone notice? And then
Right.
if I just stopped, what if I just stopped, logged off, and just lived a regular life? What would be the
Yeah.
difference?
Mm.
But there's a lot of time in a month, and a lot of time, and that's a small portion of the month.
Yeah. And like I think there are always going to be people that care about people making interesting things.
Yeah,
And if for anyone else, like I like to do shit for myself and for like my friends to be like, "Hey, look at this thing
yeah,
I'm working on." And I've also been learning more and more to just like instead of the joy coming from the end of the thing, like
yeah.
releasing whatever, I'm really trying to find more joy in like just having fun in the process
Right.
of making the thing, because that's a really fun part.
Yeah, like having an end goal in mind, perhaps, so that you finish it eventually, but
Right. Yeah.
but
You don't leave
not
it.
be like only focused on that and find enjoyment like leading up to that is helpful.
Totally. I do think that comes with collaboration, and so I'm really hoping to, after this project. I mean, I have some collaborators in the way of visual artists for this,
Yeah.
but I really hope to work more with some game designers that know more than me, because I know a lot more about audio, I think, than I do about game design.
Yeah.
So I'd really love to collaborate with some more people in the future.
Yeah, and I think much like in the way that when you go to like an indie musician's Wikipedia page and you see they have roughly 20 associated acts.
Right.
Like indie designers, I think tend to travel in packs and kind of like I like the idea of just like, hey, collaborating off and on and things being looser, not having such a strict like, oh, we have to have a studio and hire staff and this and that. And I think as more people kind of flourish and realize that there is like there is a space below um, the studio space that you can work on games.
Right.
And I think that's part of what I try to show off and be like, hey, look, there's people who can make games like by themselves.
Yeah.
A lot of people do make games by themselves,
Right.
or
I
they
think
can just
it's
kind of like
very
loosely
inspiring.
collaborate.
Yeah, like just people making things together.
Yeah, just kind of jamming on stuff, and
Mm.
sometimes things come out, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
But speaking of um, things that do and do not, this show do end now. Um,
Okay.
This is second try, second shot at it. Hope
Okay.
I hope I can make it. It's the the usual go-to of, okay, well, it didn't work the first time. Let's try it. Let's go for round two.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do that. This how I do that on For Certain is I say, hey, what if you got to plug and promote? Where can people find
Hey.
your stuff?
So my website is maridjerfy.com,
Beautiful.
and I've got like links to my itch, and also like my Bandcamp and all that stuff is on there. So if you go to my website, you can just find
Yes.
my stuff.
Love
Yeah.
to see someone with their own website.
We love it.
It's such an easy thing to make.
Yeah, super easy. And
You-
yeah, so I've
You barely need to know what HTML is. You don't even
Right.
you don't even need to know what CSS is.
no, nothing.
Just throw text files on a page.
Yeah, and call it a day.
Yeah.
So I've got the Forest of Noise on there, and I have a demo for my current project, The Dark is a Soft Warm Pressure, on there as well. So if you want to check out the demo, yeah,
Yes.
that's on my website too.
And I highly recommend. I always say Indiepocalypse is a jumping off point for people to be like, oh, this person is cool. I'm going to go check out all their stuff. Much in the same
Totally.
way, much in the same way that any kind of like good anthology or curation, like much in the way that when I listened to Weedian's Trip to Mexico, I went and I bought that Rostro del Sol album. You know, it's about like anthologies are an entry point to other artists.
Yeah, showing off the people. That's great.
And also a way to pay artists a little on the way there.
Right.
To
Yeah.
the entry point.
Yeah.
As you should know, indiepocalypse.com, that's where you buy it. It's available everywhere. It's on itch at indiepocalypse.com. Will it be on my own website soon? Maybe. That's a thing that's like mostly done, but it's kind of like got most done. Then my friend who built the site had to be like, here's how you put the cart in the header, and then I just haven't gotten around to that because I haven't been in that website building mindset. But
Gotcha.
all the issues, but one of them I think are set up to be sold. Like they're
Okay,
all,
let's go. They're all like ready on
yeah,
there.
like the store file is all set up. They're all uploaded and everything. It's almost
Hell
there.
yeah.
But so look forward to it. If you want to
Keep your
join
hopes up.
Indiepocalypse, it's very easy. It's easy to submit, I should say, and it's not as hard as you think it is to get in. You submit through indiepocalypse.com/submit. It's just an issue jam page. You say, add my game, please, and then your game gets added. And that's the whole
Boom.
process. There is that page that Mary mentioned earlier of, hey, I have a public-facing collection of games called To Play, question mark, I believe is what it's called.
I think that's right.
And if your game is on there, there's a good chance that I found it either through my own curiosity or through someone else rating it highly, or someone I follow rating it highly. So it's probably good. It's probably Indiepocalypse worthy. And there is like 6,000 games on a list. So what I'm saying is there's a lot of games, and you could be one of them.
Yeah.
You are actually in my subcategory called. Actually, let's not get into the minutia of my subcategories, my secret subcategories.
I'm in the chowder.
There it is. So anyway, that's it. Patreon. It's /Patreon. That Indiepocalypse up front that is to say. Then you put the Patreon at the end. It's all websites, buy a website, build a website,
Yeah.
and then
Be a website.
yes, just get a URL and just redirect a bunch of stuff to like itch and everything.
Yeah.
That's all Indiepocalypse. I mean, I do have my own website with its own URL, peachpranks.com, but I bought Indiepocalypse just as a domain and I redirect it all over the place.
Yeah. Like the Twitch has a redirect thing, right?
Yes, Twitch is indiepocalypse.com/radio.
Go.
So, like, say for instance, if I switched to a different platform, guess what? Indiepocalypse.com/radio, it's still pointing to it.
That's beautiful.
You gotta live your life platform agnostic,
Yeah.
as we all know, because platforms die.
Agnostic. Yeah, because they're all going down. They're all
Right.
going to hell in a handbasket one way or another.
Exactly. So you find the one that's not quite going to hell in a handbasket yet, and then you redirect
Right.
it to over there.
Beautiful.
You gotta. It's my salesmanship. Get people dedicated to you, not you via Twitch.tv. That's
People focused.
Right. That's the hope, is that people go to .com/radio instead of whatever. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's the show. Closing it
That's
down.
it.
Thank you for being on the show. Thank you for being in the zine. Thank you for kind of the whole process of it all.
Thank you so much for having me on all of those things.
Yes. Glad to be. I did not have FUBAR ready because I didn't have to adjust anything. I say that like I ever have it ready. But that's it. Thank you. Goodbye.
Cool. Bye.